The moment Annabelle's fingers brushed the cold metal of her mother's heirloom ring, her heart tightened with a strange fear she could not name. The ring had been with her family for generations, passed from mother to daughter, and now it sat in her palm like a quiet promise she wasn't ready to break. She stood in her small living room, still smelling faintly of the herbal tea she had left on the table. The doorbell rang, sharp and unexpected. When she opened it, her neighbor stood there. Mr. DeLuca, the man who always spoke softly but carried a presence that filled every room he entered. He was older, and she felt it every time he looked at her, not in a heavy way, but in a way that warmed her, as if he understood things she didn't have words for. She swallowed when his eyes gently dropped to her hand. "You're holding something tightly?" he said. "It's just a ring," she replied, her voice weaker than she expected. "Let me see the ring," he asked with a warm half-smile. "It might even fit me." She hesitated. She didn't know why. Maybe because everything about him made her nervous in a soft, confusing way. Or maybe because this ring held her last connection to her mother. Still, she lifted her hand. He reached out, slow and careful, as if asking permission wordlessly. When their fingers touched, something sharp and electric ran up her arm. Unexpected, startling, impossible to ignore. She handed him the ring. "Hold it for me, okay?" she whispered. He nodded once, serious now. "Always." He turned the ring between his fingers, examining its delicate curves, the tiny stones carved deep into the band. Under the warm lamplight, it looked fragile, like it carried stories only time could read. "You take care of things," he said quietly. "Even things that don't look easy to keep safe." His words hit her harder than they should have. She cleared her throat and stepped back. "Come in," she said. He followed her inside, his boots quietly brushing against the wooden floor. Everything about him was calm, steady, the exact opposite of the storm she always felt inside. She tried to distract herself by answering messages on her phone, tossing it onto the couch when she felt overwhelmed. The screen lit up. A missed call from her boyfriend. His name brought a sudden shift in the room. Mr. DeLuca's soft gaze darkened just a little. "You two having trouble?" "It doesn't matter," she whispered. "It does if it hurts you." The room felt too quiet, too intimate. He sat down across from her, close enough that she could feel the warmth of his presence. "You don't have to pretend with me," he said. "You never have." Her breath caught. How could he read her so easily? She had always been good at hiding her feelings, but not from him. Never from him. "You asked me to hold your ring," he continued, "but I think you're carrying more weight than this little thing." There it was, the gentle way he stripped down every wall she built. She looked at him. Really looked. At the lines beside his eyes, at the strength in his jaw, at the kindness that softened everything about him. He wasn't like the boys her age. He wasn't trying to impress her. He wasn't pretending. He was simply there. And that alone scared her more than anything. "I'm fine," she lied. "No," he said softly. "You're lonely." Her breath trembled. She didn't know why those words felt like truth she didn't want to face. Maybe because it was the first time someone had said it out loud. Without thinking, she reached out her hand. Not to grab the ring, but to feel something real. Her fingers hovered near his. He didn't pull away. His eyes softened, and, for a moment, the space between them felt too small, too heavy, too full of things neither of them dared to speak. Then, the phone rang again. Annabelle flinched, the moment breaking like thin glass. She grabbed the ring from his palm quickly, almost too quickly, and stood up. "We shouldn't," she began. He stood too, his voice low. "I know." But the look he gave her said everything he couldn't. A connection neither of them could explain. A pull they both felt but were afraid to name. She slipped the ring into her pocket without wearing it. She didn't know why. Maybe because the ring was a promise, and she wasn't sure which promise her heart wanted to keep anymore. Annabelle did not sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she remembered the way Mr. DeLuca had looked at her. Calm, steady, but with a softness that made her heart feel unprotected. She kept touching the ring in her pocket, wondering why she hadn't put it back on her finger. By morning, the storm inside her had only grown louder. She stepped outside to clear her head. The sun was warm, the street quiet, and for a moment she thought she could breathe again. But then she saw him. Mr. DeLuca was standing by his mailbox, sleeves rolled up, sunlight catching the silver in his hair. He looked up the second he sensed her footsteps, his eyes meeting hers with a familiarity that made her pulse jump. "You look tired," he said. "I didn't sleep much," she replied. He nodded, understanding without asking more. That was the thing about him. He never pushed, but his presence alone felt like a hand reaching into her thoughts. She walked closer, unsure why her feet moved on their own. "About yesterday," she began. He looked away for a moment, as if choosing his words carefully. "You don't have to explain anything," he said. "I crossed a line. I shouldn't have said what I said." "No," she whispered. "I think you were right." His eyes lifted to her again. Slow, searching, patient, something shifted between them. A quiet recognition neither of them had the courage to name. "What happened?" he asked gently. She hesitated, then exhaled. "My boyfriend wants me to wear the ring. He keeps asking me to show commitment. But every time I tried to put it on, it felt wrong." Her voice trembled. "Then you held it, and suddenly it felt even more confusing." He didn't move. He didn't speak. But the way he looked at her, like he was holding her pain with his own hands, made her chest ache. "You deserve someone who listens," he said. "Someone who understands your silence, too." His words hit deeper than she expected. She stepped closer, drawn to him in a way that felt wrong and right at the same time. "You make things feel safe," she whispered. He swallowed, as if her words shook something inside him. "Annabelle, I'm older than you, much older, and people will judge you. They'll judge me." "I don't care," she said. "Not about them." Her voice surprised even herself. He stepped back slightly, breathing unsteady for the first time. "Then you should know the truth." Her heart froze. "What truth?" He looked down at his hands, then back at her with a heaviness she had never seen in him. "Last year, I lost someone." "I lost the woman I thought I'd spend my life with," he said quietly. "After that, I closed every door in my heart, locked everything. I didn't want to feel anything again." Annabelle felt her breath catch. She had never heard him open up like this. "But then you moved in next door," he continued. "And every day you made those closed doors feel weaker, and I hated that, because I wasn't ready." She stepped even closer, barely a foot away now. "So you felt something too?" she asked, her voice trembling. He didn't answer, but the silence between them was the answer. Her phone buzzed in her pocket again. This time, she didn't look at it. He glanced at the sound, jaw tightening. "That's him, isn't it?" Quote. "Yes," she whispered. "Are you going to talk to him?" "I don't know." He slowly reached into his shirt pocket and took something out. Her ring. "I kept it with me," he said softly. "I shouldn't have, but I couldn't stop thinking about what you said." She stared at the ring in his hand, not as a symbol of commitment to someone else, but now tangled with the unexpected connection between them. "You want it back?" he asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she stretched out her hand, not for the ring, but toward him. His fingers hovered near hers, just like yesterday. But this time, something inside him gave in. Their hands touched. Warm, certain, dangerous. His breath shook. "Annabelle," he whispered, "if we keep going down this path, something will change. For both of us." "I know," she replied. "And you're not afraid?" "I am," she admitted. "But I'm more afraid of pretending there's nothing here." The wind brushed past them, but neither moved. The street felt too quiet, the moment too fragile. He finally let her fingers slip away, but the connection stayed thick in the air. "Think carefully," he said, "because once you decide, I won't be able to walk away." Annabelle's heart pounded as she looked at the ring in his palm, then into his eyes. And in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "Maybe I don't want you to walk away." The ring glimmered between them like a choice she had never expected to face. A choice that could break her past or build her future. Annabelle stood frozen, her eyes locked on the ring in his hand. The morning air felt heavier now, filled with a decision that could change her entire life. She could hear her heartbeat louder than the distant birds, louder than her phone buzzing again and again. This time, she didn't even look at it. Mr. DeLuca lowered his hand slowly, as if giving her one last chance to step back. "Annabelle, if you take this ring from me now, it won't just be a ring anymore. It will mean something else." She stepped closer. "I know," she whispered. His breath shakily left his chest. He wasn't a man who showed weakness easily, but she could see the conflict in his eyes. The fear of hurting her, the fear of wanting her, the fear of crossing a line he had built around his heart for years. "Tell me what you want," he said softly. "I want honesty," Annabelle replied. "For the first time in my life, I want something real." "And you think that's me?" he whispered. She nodded without hesitation. "You don't pretend. You don't rush. You understand me even when I don't understand myself." The honesty stunned him. He closed his eyes for a moment, steadying himself. When he opened them again, the softness she had always felt around him had turned into something deeper, something he couldn't hide anymore. "Annabelle, I haven't let myself feel anything since the day I lost her," he said. "But with you, everything wakes up again, and it scares me." Quote. She reached up instinctively, touching the side of his face, a gentle, trembling touch. He didn't move away. Instead, he leaned into it just slightly, as if her hand carried a warmth he had long forgotten. "You don't have to be scared," she whispered. He caught her wrist gently, holding her touch in place as if afraid she might pull away. "Then promise me something," he said. "What?" "That you won't run if this becomes difficult." She nodded. "Only if you promise the same." He let out a quiet breath, a soft laugh filled with disbelief. "Annabelle, I would never run from you." The world felt impossibly still. Slowly, he lifted her hand and placed the ring in her palm, not forcing it, not pushing her, just letting it rest there like a choice she had full control over. "Wear it," he said gently, "only if you want to." She looked down at the ring, the same ring she couldn't wear for her boyfriend, the same ring that had felt heavy and wrong just days ago. But now, her fingers curled around it. She didn't put it on her ring finger. Instead, she slid it onto a chain around her neck, letting it rest close to her heartbeat. His eyes softened, understanding exactly what she was saying without words. A promise, but not the wrong one. A future, but not rushed. A connection, but still unfolding. He stepped closer. Her breath caught when his hand lifted, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. His touch lingered, warm and careful. "You have no idea how hard I've tried to keep my distance," he murmured. She smiled softly. "You didn't do a very good job." He laughed quietly. It was the first time she had heard that sound from him. Warm, unguarded, real. And then he leaned his forehead against hers. Not a kiss. Not yet. Something deeper. A promise without words. A slow burn finally finding its flame. She closed her eyes, feeling her heart steady for the first time in months. He held her arms gently as if she were something precious he was afraid to break. "I'm here," he whispered. "If you want me, I'm here." "I do," she whispered back. "More than I should." Quote. He pulled her closer, his hands trembling just slightly, but with a certainty that erased every doubt she had ever carried. For the first time since her mother's passing. For the first time since her relationship had begun to fall apart. For the first time in a long time. Annabelle felt seen, not for who she pretended to be, but for who she truly was. He kissed her forehead. Slow, gentle, careful. A kiss filled with years of guarded emotions finally slipping free. She leaned into him, letting her walls fall one by one. And in that quiet morning, on that little street, two hearts, broken in different ways, finally found the courage to choose each other. Not perfect, not easy, but real. Their story didn't end with a ring on her finger. It began with a ring resting near her heart, and with a man who finally allowed himself to feel again, and a girl who finally chose the love that felt like home.